Hi Stampers, thanks so much for being here today. If you love the look of watercolor on your projects, but you don't really love the mess, you'll want to stick around for today's tutorial. I want to share with you a no mess, or rather very tiny mess way of creating watercolor backgrounds. They're very simple to create, and they use something besides ink to create the look. So let's take a look at them. Watercolor cards are some of my favorites to create. I think they're a lot of fun. They're always one of a kind, and they really create beautiful results. But I know some of us don't love the mess, and some of us don't just love all of the steps involved in creating a watercolor card. So today I want to share with you a really simple way to create the look of watercolor cards a lot easier. And the way we're going to do this, like I said, it's not with ink, it is with watercolor pencils. So let me show you. This does not take long at all to do these, and we'll show you some finished results that I've created before I started here. So I'm going to grab 3 of my watercolor pencils. You could do this with one color, but I like the effect of mixing colors. So I have Balmy Blue, Bermuda Bay, and Pacific Point here. And you can decide how you want to do your coloring. Now, on the samples that I will show, the finished cards here in a second that I'll be showing you, I use straight lines to color on them. And when I did my blending to blend the colors, I did that back and forth as well. Now for a different look, let's do some patches of color. So you are going to color in a very carefree way. Now at the edges, I have a hard time coloring back on. So a lot of times I start on and just color off. But carefree, just scribble away. Like I said, if you want to do these in straight lines, you can come up with any pattern you like. You may want to create a certain effect, and you'll see on my finished ones, I was attempting to create a certain effect. I was trying to create the look of a particular type of background, and that's why I used the coloring pattern I did. But we're just going to create some scribbles here. And I have lost track of what colors I've used. I think this is the one I haven't. Balmy Blue. And really there's no right or wrong way because they always turn out one of a kind. So when I'm doing projects like this, and when you're doing them, I really encourage you to open up your mind. Don't expect one particular result. Expect it to be one of a kind and to hopefully appreciate how it turns out in the end. Okay, now that I've covered that, I am going to get one of my water painters. These are one of my favorite tools. I have a lot of favorite tools. You probably know if you watch along with me very often, but I love to use these water painters. They create some really neat effects. If you want more information on these, I'll put a link in the video description below to a complete tutorial where I explain all about them and different ways to use them. So what I'm going to do, I want to make sure there's plenty of water down in the tip. So I am going to squeeze here until I start to see water coming down. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but some drops have come down there onto the brush tip. And now this is where our very tiny mess comes in. It's not exactly zero mess, but pretty small mess. So we are just going to start painting. And what you'll find is the more water you add, of course, the more mess it's going to create, but you don't really have to add much at all to get these colors to start blending. If you don't like your paper bubbling up, then you may want to tape this to your work surface. And you see me painting back and forth, but really we can do this any which way we want to. And we may end up with more of an actual watercolor look if we kind of go all over. And some places here, I have more water on the surface than in others. That is really going to give us more of that watercolor look as it dries. And I think you can start to see this as it sits here. You can start to see where that water has been sitting, and you get those darker colors along the edges of those areas. So I'm going to set this aside to let it dry and show you some that I created beforehand. Here is one I did not actually turn into a finished project, but I had used, I believe, Melon Mambo, Gorgeous Grape, and Pacific Point were my colors on this one. And I had just scribbled, and then I'd done more of a back and forth pattern when I applied the water on this one. And let's look at my two finished samples where, like I said, I was trying to create a particular look. So on this one, I was trying to create that look of the ocean in the background with the sky up above. So at the bottom, I had mixed Pacific Point, Night of Navy, and Garden Green. I wanted to bring in the green with this one. It was a little bit out of the box for me. I was going to use all blues, and then I was like, you know what? I think this needs some green because I wanted to use this evergreen glimmer paper for the wave. So I love how it came out with the green mixed in. And up above, I used Balmy Blue. I applied that water in a back and forth motion. I did my coloring straight across as well, and you can see how this turned out. I created this with the Waves of Inspiration and the Waves of Inspiration stamp set and Waves die set, which are really neat. Actually, I have a big tutorial on that bundle. I can link that in the description below as well if you want to take a look at some other card ideas for that set. Now here is my other finished one where I wanted to create the look of a sunset. So I used red, Calypso Coral, Pumpkin Pie, and Daffodil Delight, I believe. Color those in the straight pattern, applied the water in the straight pattern as well. Oh, and I did have brown down here at the bottom to look like sand, and then placed my black die cuts over the top. So this one I created with the Paradise Palms bundle. It includes the Palms die set, but just a couple of neat examples for how you can use this very little mess watercolor technique, which technically doesn't even use ink. It just uses the watercolor pencils. So I'll bring back in our sample for 1 second so you can see what it is doing right now. This is our look at the moment. We still have a little bit of water at the edges to dry. So thanks so much for watching along. I hope you can use the tips that I share and the ideas. If you are interested in any of the products I've used, you'll find the links in the video description below. Please subscribe if you're new here. I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you'll be back again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.